What's going on with Ghost Recon, Josh Brown?
Scott Tilford, you know how Ubisoft kind of likes to just put all of their franchises into a little magic eight ball and just shake it around and then just like spew out whatever other gaming influences come out of that. Well, they've got a new Ghost Recon game in production, apparently.
It is about
according to Insider Gaming and reporting from Tom Henderson over there. According to his sources, this thing is called Project Over at the minute. That's the code name it's currently being developed under. Apparently, it's targeting a 2025 to 2026 release date, which is much sooner than I expected, and it's making some big changes to the Ghost Recon format. Instead of being a third-person game like the past 10, 15, maybe even 20 years of Ghost Recon, it's going first-person. It's being described as having a heavy emphasis on more tactical gameplay, again, kind of more like the original games, and with Tom Henderson's reporting, he describes it, quote, almost milsim-like in nature. However, the thing that I was getting to before this in terms of the influences, I actually think that part of it sounds promising.
Like, it reminds me of Advanced Warfighter, the last time the Ghost Recon was like on top of the world.
Yeah, man, like going back to a more tactical approach, not just having it be an arbitrary open world or trying to water down those elements to make it more like Far Cry or more like Assassin's Creed or whatever. That to me is a way better approach than when they announced a Ghost Recon Battle Royale game and everyone hated it and it was cancelled. However, this is where I have an issue because in the report, he also says, quote, the game appears to take heavy inspiration from the Modern Warfare series with some potential dark or controversial missions and segments. One mission, for example, shows your squad nearly shooting a man holding a baby because they thought that baby was a bomb, but they realized this at the last second, end quote. They also say that it's taken inspiration from the likes of Ready or Not, which is a PC multiplayer shooter, and more kind of, like I said, tactical games like that. And I understand that all games need inspirations, but when you're describing a mission like that and talking about how much you're kind of pulling from Modern Warfare, I don't just want a Ghost Recon game that's just a worse feeling version of Modern Warfare, man.
I think this is fascinating because I feel like for me and you, I think we've played every single Ghost Recon. Like I feel like growing up with the franchise, like I've been there since the beginning. Like the Advanced Warfighter era was a huge deal. Like that was such a oh my god, look what the 360 can do era. Future Soldier I actually quite liked. I like all the cross sync stuff in terms of telling your entire squad to fire at once. It was the Splinter Cell mark and execute stuff, and then keeping up with Wildlands and then Breakpoint. Breakpoint was my breaking point in terms of Bullet My Valentine came to my mind there because they have a song called Breaking Point.
There you go.
But still, the way that franchise went, where it was like you said, it was chasing the Far Cry stuff. It was chasing the Ubisoft open world template, and it's not that there wasn't fun to be had in Wildlands or Breakpoint, mainly because of how kind of broken and busted the physics were. It's just like you and the boys tipping down a hill in an SUV or whatever.
Did love that in Wildlands.
Fun enough, but like it didn't have the DNA. It didn't have why we're here in the first place. Whereas something like Rainbow Six, because back in the day, it used to always feel, at least to me, like Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six were the two franchises mentioned side by side. They were like the two big Tom Clancy franchises, and then Splinter Cell came in. And it hasn't had that feel in 20 years. So I quite like the idea of them at least broaching getting back to that. I think for me, the ideal Ghost Recon era is Warfighter, where you've got squad tactics, but you also have technology that is a little bit more advanced and lets you plan in different ways that differentiates it from Call of Duty or whatever. So I wonder how much they want it to be a boots on the ground standard first-person shooter, tactical shooter, like the Band of Brothers game or whatever. I kind of wonder because like those are bygone ways of adding mechanics to what used to be the first-person shooter template, and now everything just chases Modern Warfare or tries to chase the sort of the momentum shooter, that kind of thing, which Ghost Recon isn't that. So bringing in the moral quandary stuff is interesting, but the example given there is so close to Modern Warfare 2019's one. Of are you going to shoot the baby as a criminal? Like I just hope it can be differentiable again.
That's exactly my issue with this, and I'm kind of conflicted about this whole report because, on the one hand, going back to first person, being more tactical, great. Even being influenced by Modern Warfare, which I really loved that game, and I even controversially like Modern Warfare 2 as well. I like the kind of cinematic approach of those games. I like those more tactical levels, if you could call them that, when they're a bit more focused and you have that squad. But I worry about Ubisoft as a sort of creative whole because I look at this in the comparisons to Modern Warfare and how it's taking inspiration from that franchise and Ready or Not and a bunch of other games. And I pine for the days and I don't even know if these ever existed, but I have to assume they did, when Ubisoft was, an innovator, where they were a leader, a creative leader in the medium, and they were using these franchises to invent new things and begin trends rather than just follow them. And that's my issue with their games at the minute. Like, why does everything have to be so heavily influenced by something else that's already popular? And that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from this report, because Modern Warfare sells like gangbusters. People love the aesthetic of that 2019 game, and Ghost Recon, it could be more than that. Of course, it could take elements from it and be inspired by it, but if it's just chasing that trend, that's where I get worried, because I'm so sick of Ubisoft games that are just chasing other games and feeling like worse versions of them.
That's the thing. They've become the snake eating their own tail. Like the trend they're chasing is something they set in motion, and then they just do it over and over again until it's run into the ground. Whereas, if you go back long enough, Assassin's Creed was breaking new ground. Far Cry 3 was breaking new ground. Far Cry 2 was breaking new ground. You have all like their 2000s era. It's not that it's unmatched, but it was a hell of an era. And obviously then they just recash back in on all the advancements that were made during that decade. But that's also when Advanced Warfighter was doing the rounds, and when Ghost Recon was, like I said, that was such a head turner back in the day.
Yeah, man.
And I feel like not that everything should be a nostalgia play. I hate that stuff, but I feel like you can pull from that era of Ghost Recon and do something more tactile. That is also down the vein of Rainbow Six Vegas.
Yeah.
Like another really cool tactical shooter. You can maybe argue, and maybe they have the data for it, that tactical shooters have had their day, and the kids want momentum shooters, and they want Warzone, and they want Nicki Minaj shooting stuff. Maybe. I know you do. And maybe that's just the era that we're in. And I'm curious about that. But it's not like we didn't have other wins alongside it. I cite the Band of Brothers game because it's phenomenal. It's on backwards compatibility now as well. Or it has been for a few months. That game's awesome. And I would love more differentiation in the space. I don't want everything to just chase COD.
No, absolutely.
Sick of fish.
I fully agree. You mentioned... Very nice, very nice. Well, I might have a chippy tea tonight. I might get my order in. Absolutely. You mentioned there, how the trend now is kind of more momentum-based shooters. But even that, that only came because people started getting sick of military shooters, and then a game took a risk and then reminded people why they loved that brand of FPS in the first place. Like Doom 2016 was such a breath of fresh air because it wasn't a modern military shooter, and it was embracing the old school FPS ethos. Same with Wolfenstein and The New Order, like two critically acclaimed reboots that took inspiration from older games and got huge success. So why can't the tactical shooter, in an age where we love games like PUBG, which are more punishing, and Escape from Tarkov, which are more punishing, why can't we go back to that in the mainstream? Why do we have to keep chasing other trends? And I hope this manages to thread the needle of being cinematic and also re-embracing older traditions. But I think of Rainbow Six, which to me is maybe the only Ubisoft win in over a decade. That is a game that genuinely felt different from them. It still had its problems at launch, especially, but releasing a multiplayer-focused Rainbow Six game that's turned into this massive live service and was a success and cultivated this dedicated fan base. To me, I'm why did we not get more risks like that? That was clearly a success. It's been going for 10 years. It was an impressive reboot, but at every other franchise, Ubisoft just kind of went, we'll do a battle royale.
Do you want another one?
Do you want another one? We'll do another open world game with towers and stuff. Do you want Watch Dogs? But now it's actually just Assassin's Creed, which is actually just Far Cry. Far Cry 6 is out, which is just Far Cry 3 again. We've been doing this for 14 years. Somebody kill me.